All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice questions series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Kyra shares an apartment with a roommate. She frequently interrupts her roommate's shows, demanding the TV remote to switch to her preferred channel or streaming service. The roommate often gives in to avoid conflict, and Kyra's interruptions become more frequent. Which function of behavior best explains why Kyra's interruptions continue to increase? So we're starting with a function question, and as always, with the function question, we're trying to figure out why is the behavior happening? What is the person gaining or getting rid of as a result of their behavior? In Kyra's case, why is she interrupting? Well, she shares an apartment and she interrupts her roommate's shows to get the TV remote. So Kyra is engaging in these behaviors in hopes that she'll be given the remote. And the result is the roommate, to avoid conflict, gives in. So Kyra engages in interruptions, gets the remote, and as a result, the interruptions become more frequent. So, what is the likely function? A, escape. Now be careful. What is Kyra gaining? Kyra is gaining the remote. So she's not escaping anything necessarily. Well, you could say, well, she's no longer having to watch the show her roommate was watching, but the direct result of her interruptions is getting that TV remote. She then can change the channel, but she first has to get the remote, and that is the result of the interruptions. So what we're looking at here is B, tangible. Attention, she's not necessarily doing it to get attention from the roommate. She wants the tangible item. And then D, automatic. As we know, it can't be automatic when it is socially mediated, when there's another person involved. And so, with the roommate being involved, it cannot be automatic. So, Kyra's interruptions continue to increase because of the tangible function. Linda, a behavior technician, is asked by a clinic administrator to diagnose a new client who shows signs of a complex mood disorder. Linda, aware of their training limits and credentialed boundaries, politely declines and suggests that a licensed clinical psychologist be consulted. What ethical responsibility is Linda upholding in this scenario? So let's think about Linda. What is she doing? What is the situation? Well, she's a behavior technician, and the clinic administrator wants her to diagnose a new client. And as a behavior technician, you're probably saying, well, I can't diagnose clients. And that is true. But as a behavior technician, you're probably going to work with behavior analysts and administrators and supervisors, and you might be asked to do things that are clearly out of your scope of competence. And in those situations, it is your responsibility to say no. So Linda, she's aware of her limits. She declines and suggests a clinical psychologist instead because she's talking to this administrator. And now you might say, well, if my boss tells me to do something, I've got to do it. What comes before your responsibilities to your supervisors is the ethical code and what the board says your role is as the technician and what your competence is. So, what ethical responsibility is Linda upholding? A, ensuring continued supervision hours. Well, Linda isn't seeking additional supervision or continuing supervision. She's handling a situation where she was asked to do something that she's not qualified to do. B, complying with supervisee request to build rapport. Just because you're asked to do something doesn't mean you need to do it if it is unethical or it does not fit within your scope of competence. C, engaging in tasks to maintain competence. Linda isn't trying to gain more training to meet these needs. She is saying, I can't do this. So by politely declining because of her limitations, she is practicing within her scope of competence. And that is a very important thing to do as a behavior technician. You must always practice within your training and within your scope of competence. In a brewery's training program, a new hire is struggling to position the keg line correctly. The supervisor gently places the employee's hands in the proper spots to guide them through the setup sequence, then gradually reduces assistance as the employee learns the correct motions. What type of prompt is the supervisor providing by moving the new hire's hands? Pretty straightforward prompting question, right? This is one of the more easy prompts to identify. We have a situation where the new hire is trying to position a keg line correctly. Their supervisor is doing what? Well, they are placing the employee's hands in the proper spots. Whenever you see something like that, where you have a situation where the supervisor or whoever is physically moving the client, or in this case, the new hire, the person, well, it's going to be clearly some sort of physical prompt, right? And when we think physical prompts, we have partial physical prompts, we have physical prompts, and we have full physical prompts, and we have graduated guidance. In this case, it looks like more or less full physical prompts where they're putting the hands in the proper spots to guide them through the setup sequence. So let's look at our answer choices. A verbal prompt. Well, we're talking about moving the new hire's hands, and that's not a verbal prompt, that's going to be a physical prompt. B, gestural prompt. Gestural prompt does not involve physical touch. It's just an indication using motor movements of what you would like done. So what we're looking at here is C, a physical prompt. Now, we're not a specific physical prompt because this is the answer choices we were given, which makes our job easier, of course. And so physical prompt is going to be the best answer. Modeling is different from physical prompts because we're not physically prompting, but we are acting out what we would like to see. If the supervisor was modeling, they would demonstrate where to put hands instead of physically guiding the hands. So the type of prompt supervisor is providing by moving the new hire's hands is C, physical prompt. An event planner repeatedly taps their pen on the table during team briefings, distracting others. A colleague decides to reinforce the planner whenever they keep their hands folded or use a stress ball instead of tapping. Over subsequent meetings, the pen tapping behavior decreases. Which procedure is the colleague using? So let's think about this. We've got a differential reinforcement question. And with a differential reinforcement question, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, am I teaching or is a replacement behavior being taught? In this case, pen tapping is the behavior we want to decrease. What's being taught is to keep hands folded or use a stress ball. So we do have a situation where a replacement behavior is being taught. So if a replacement behavior is being taught, we know it cannot be a DRO, or differential reinforcement of other behavior procedure. So we can immediately eliminate that. Notice I've only used the acronyms here, and that's because I want you to get familiar with both the acronyms and the complete spellings of these ideas. You have to be familiar with both. You don't know how they're going to be presented. So DRO is differential reinforcement of other behavior. If we're teaching a replacement, it's not going to be DRO. It's got to be DRA or DRI. Both of these teach an alternative or replacement behavior. What is the difference between DRA and DRI? Well, DRA, you can teach a replacement that can occur at the same time. Here, the colleague doesn't want the pen tapping to happen at all. So the only time reinforcement is being given is if the hands are folded or a stress ball is being used to eliminate tapping altogether. So if we're teaching a replacement behavior that cannot occur, it's going to be incompatible with the old behavior, and that's clearly going to be B, differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, or DRI. Now, DRD is a type, it's diminishing, not necessarily one you need to know as an RBT, but if you go on to become a BCBA, that is something you're going to want to know. A home-based business owner wants to increase their daily output of handmade products. They decide to reward themselves with a short break after completing a set number of items. Over time, they find themselves producing more items each day. Which principle is most directly contributing to the strengthening of the business owner's work output? So it's a principle question, and our principles are reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. And the key word here is strengthening. That's a dead giveaway. If you're reading carefully and you're fluent, you know the only principle that's going to strengthen behavior is what? It's reinforcement. In this case, this business owner is trying to increase output, so they reward themselves with a short break after completing a set number of items. And now they're producing more items each day. Don't get thrown off by the word reward. Even if they rewarded with themselves with a short break, if they were producing less items, that would not be reinforcing. So the key here is strengthening and that the behavior is actually increasing. So if we are strengthening a behavior, the behavior is increasing, the principle has to be reinforcement. Punishment only decreases. Extinction only decreases. When you're dealing with consequences and you're dealing with principles, you've got to look at how the behavior is changing. Reinforcement is going to increase or maintain. Punishment and extinction are going to decrease. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.